Greetings from the Holy Land, the Holy Apple. Super Wednesdays here in Tapuach on the 16th day of the month of Tevet, 5778. Yeah, on the way here I heard a good joke as I hitched here to do the classes. So the first ride that I got, so I heard the following joke. This guy comes up to Prime Minister of Israel, so-called, Mr. Netanyahu, and he starts kissing him. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "No, you remind me of a holy Torah scroll." He says, so Netanyahu says, "How do I remind you, of a holy Torah scroll that you're kissing me?" He says, "No, you have a different parsha every day. There's a different portion of the week all the time. Bibi's in the news all the time. There's something else, some other police investigation on his case." If you have to start explaining jokes, you have to be there, done that. Okay, today's title's got to help. Really put on a few seatbelts. We're going for a drag race today. Unbelievable. The title of our class is called The Incredible Connection Between Adam, Eve, Dinah raped in the city of Shechem, Hanukkah, JC's birth, and the holy days of the shovavim. I mean, that's like a mouthful. How could we put all these things together? Okay, so as I said, fasten your seatbelts. Before we go, God willing, this will be hopefully 1 or 2 parts, which in our language means 3 or 4 parts. I hope 2 hours. So 1 or 2 hours. We'll see how it goes along. First one, I wanted to give a vote of approval. I wish we had this guy as our Prime Minister here. There was a recent interview with the Prime Minister of Hungary. His name is Viktor Orban. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here's what he said. "We don't want our Xmas markets to be renamed." Oh, yeah. What is he talking about? Now, everything that he says here, there's like a link to it, so you get it. Like I didn't get it at the beginning, so I have to go. I'm this kind of guy, I'm like a yeshiva student, so I gotta hit that link. What in the world is he talking about? We don't want our markets to be renamed. Well, see, in Europe, they're starting to rename all kinds of places that have Christian sounding names in order not to offend the Muslim population. So Xmas lights are becoming now winter lights. Yes. So the Prime Minister of Hungary, he's not into that renaming. And we definitely don't want to retreat behind concrete blocks. Oh yeah, let me tell you something. When on the way here, another story. This is not a joke. This is for real. This is the real McCoy. I got one ride from Elon More to the next hitching station, which is next to a not too far away from an army base and below the settlement of Bracha. And so I get out of the car and I'm waiting in the at the edge of the street, waiting for a ride, as I always do. And 2 soldiers come up to me and say, "Sir, can you please stand here behind the concrete barriers?" I said, "No, thank you very much for your offer, but I prefer to stand here." The soldier, usually that does the job and they'll get off my back. But not these soldiers. They said, "We have orders to make sure that all citizens stand behind these concrete blocks." I said, "Well, I have orders also from above pointing up to the sky. I also have those above, not to show the enemy that we are, God forbid, afraid of them. To show them that we are strong. That's from above. With that, they let me go. Okay, so what is he talking about? The PM of Hungary, what is he talking about? We don't want to hide. We don't want to retreat behind concrete blocks. Now, I'm not joking. You can check this out in case you think it's a joke. I wish it was. But in Germany, the PM there, Merkel, okay, Merkel, the wise, who brought in millions of Muslim immigrants into the area, flooded the area. Wow. Anyways, now that they're a little bit tired of all these Arab taking their cars and smashing them into popular hangout places for the German people, so what did they do? They went out to these ugly, disgusting, despicable, fearful, make us look timid barriers, and they put on each one of them wrapping paper, like for a gift for a kid. You know, like a Lego, you see Lego on the outside of the wrapping paper. I kid you not. All these ugly, disgusting, that show how weak we are, how frightened we are, that we've lost the battle, all these little concrete barriers, well, they're going around, and in Germany, they're all with so nice, so lovely wrapping paper. Now, there used to be a song when I was a kid, it was called Killing Me Softly. Yes, Len, you might remember that one. Killing me softly, no extra charge, no extra charge. Killing me softly with your words. So when I was a kid, there was this unbelievable movie. It was called Soylent Green. What was the idea? This was a movie in the that projects life in 20-something, you know, maybe around our days, and there's no money, there's no food left, you know, to buy one strawberry or a kind of jelly, you have to pay like $3,000. So no one really has any money, no one has any food unless you're tremendously rich. So there was an offer, in this movie there's an offer that if you want to die in a nice fashion, because everyone's dying just on the streets, you know, and they're being like just hopped over and stepped upon because there's nowhere to bury them. So, but if you have got some money, then they bring you into this like building, and there's like this beautiful music as they're taking your life. You know, they're killing you on this table, killing you softly, beautiful music, pictures, a movie a nature movie, and they're killing you and you're dying, but at least you went in a peaceful manner. And what do they do with the insides of the people? Soylent Green. That's the food that's being sold to the population that remains. Oh yeah, Soylent Green. They're taking your chopped liver, making it to chopped liver, you know? So this is what's going down in Germany. You know, they're killing us softly. They're making it look pretty. It ain't pretty at all. It's ugly. It's Soylent Green. Okay, here he goes on. We don't want our Xmas masses to be surrounded by fear and distress. Yes. You heard recently there was some priest in some church. He got some ISIS fellow entered, and not to pray, of course, but to chop off the guy's head, and that's what he did. So now all the churches are, you know, on alert. So the Prime Minister of Hungary, he doesn't want that to turn into in his country. We don't want our women and daughters to be harassed in the New Year's Eve crowd. I mean, this was an unbelievable speech by the guy. Really unbelievable. What is he talking about? Those that remember, there was, you know, the New Year's Eve party. I guess they don't call it anymore New Year's Eve. It's just called, if you're cool, it's called NYE. Yeah. You just say it for like short, NYE. No more New Year's Eve, but it's NYE party. So we don't want our women and daughters to be harassed. What are we talking about? Yeah, last year in Germany, they're at this big, Lehavdil from Times Square. They have some kind of, big party. So there were over 1,000 complaints by women. Most of them were sexual complaints that Muslim Arabs were harassing them sexually, and some were theft. So amazingly, a year later now, there were 1,000 complaints filed to the police. How many people have been convicted 1 year later? 1,000 offenders? Hold on, folks. 18. 18 out of 1,000. Not bad. Not bad, Germany. You're doing okay. Okay. Anyways, those are the great words. In my Jewish idea of you, we need this guy. I mean, Victor, if you want to come over to our side, we could use a guy like you. We could use some good Jews like your views. So, thumbs up to the Prime Minister of Hungary. Now we're going to have one of the thumbs down. This is a real doozer here. You got to hear it to believe it. We know that this week's portion of the week, God willing, that we will read in a couple of days on the Sabbath, is Shmot. Is the book of Shmot, which is the book of exile, and of course is the book of redemption. In many commentaries, the book is called Sefer HaGeula, the book of redemption, because we start in exile in Egypt, and eventually we get out and we rebuild the tabernacle, the sanctuary, and we're considered to be redeemed. So listen to this. Unbelievable. This is this week's. Former president of the Central Council of Jews in Germany. Imagine that. By the way, there are 30,000 Israeli Jews in Germany. 30,000 Israeli Jews. Proud. Yeah, proud. Unbelievable. So the former president, her name is Charlotte Knoblauch. Something like, it sounds like Knedalach, but I don't think it's the same connotation. Knoblauch. Let's say me. Claims that Jews are increasingly under threat in public and may require police protection to lead a normal life without harassment and violence. Excuse me, police officers, I have to go to the bathroom. Can you please do me a favor? Could you come escort me while I go to the men's room or to the women's room? Listen, we would like to go to synagogue today. Can you please bring the SWAT team in order to ensure that we will arrive safely in the synagogue in Germany? Yes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 70 odd years after 6 million Jews, we got the former president of the Central Council of Jews in Germany. We have 30,000 Israeli Jews in Germany, these proud souls. Amazing. I mean, you could pay for this article. I mean, it comes out right beautifully with this week's portion of the week when the Jewish people are going into Egypt. That's very interesting because God tells us don't go back there. God tells us don't go back there. Even for ammunition, don't go back there. There were Jews that were thrown out, that were tossed out. In the expulsion of Spain, Jews were tossed out, and they gave themselves new last names. You know what their names were? Toledano. What was the name Toledano? It's an unusual name. It's very interesting. Very interesting name. It was Toledo No. We aren't going back. You threw us out, you expelled us, you chased us out. We have pride. We're not going back to the place where they kicked us out. Well, that was the Jew of yesteryear. We don't go back to Egypt. We don't go back to Spain. We don't buy German products, we don't support Germany, and we don't step a foot in their country. Amazing. Okay, Ms. Knoblauch, who is now the president of the Jewish community of Munich. Yeah, she used to be some other council. Wow, boy, those Jews, besides, last week I spoke about how Jews and food go together. They also love committees. They also love those committees. They just, this committee, that committee. I know at my settlement, there's like 30 committees. Like, how do you keep track of all these committees? So now, Knoblauch has moved over to the Jewish community of Munich and Upper Bavaria. Says that the Jews are increasingly under threat. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Der Welt, I think it means the world, reports aggressive anti-Semitism from verbal hostility on the internet and in the analog world to desecration and destruction to physical attacks are commonplace in Germany. She said, Jewish life can only take place in public under police protection and the strictest security precautions, or it must be completely cancelled for security reasons, Knoblauch added. The Jewish leader, oh yeah, Knoblauch is one of our leaders, the Jewish leader. Yes, 3 blind mice, see how they run. See, do you ever see that bumper sticker? Don't follow me, I'm lost. Well, Knoblauch, you should get one of those stickers on your car, baby. Don't follow me, because I'm lost too. Yeah. Yes. The Jewish leader spoke about several recent anti-Semitic incidents, including the vandalism of a menorah in the city of Heilbronn, and the cancellation of a public menorah lighting. 1 second, Len, could you just pass that Kleenex over next to you? Oh my God. I don't know if this is Chabad here. We're trying to light that menorah in the public square of Mülheim Ruch due to security issues. I mean, this is tragic. These public events had to be canceled. A classic comment here is from a guy named one of the leaders, another leader of fashion. His name is Karl. I don't know, where did they interview this guy? What's the connection to Knoblauch and to I don't know. He's like a whiz when it comes to fashioning clothes. I don't know. Whatever the Welt, they interviewed him. Fashion leader Karl Lagerfeld blamed Ms. Merkel. No one's married anymore in Germany. I noticed that everybody is either divorced or there's Ms. Knoblauch, and now we have Ms. Merkel. Okay, Ms. So Karl blamed Ms. Merkel directly early this year, saying, listen to this classic line, Karl, you get a like from me. One cannot, even if there are decades between them, kill millions of Jews and then bring millions of their worst enemies in their place. Yeah, Karl, you gotta like that line. One more time. One cannot, even if there are decades between them, kill millions of Jews and then bring millions of their worst enemies in their place. You can't make any of this stuff up. Okay. Whew. Now we got a few of those current events out of the way. Okay, we're going to start here. Folks, let's get ready. With God's help, Hashem will be with us here. And let's begin. These days, this week, we've entered a new period in the Jewish calendar. This period is not too well known. It's a secret amongst most Jews. Do not know what I'm about to talk about. There are only a few left that know the deal. So if you're watching if you're with us. So you're going to be part of those few Jews that know what in the world is this new period that we entered. Okay, this past week we've entered a new period. It's called shovavim. Well, that's some kind of funky name. Shovavim. Shovavim stands for 6 portions of the book of Exodus. We take the first letter and of each portion, and then it becomes a word. It's shovavim, which in Hebrew means to stray away. Stray away. So the first portion that we read starts with a shin, shmot. The second one is with a vav, va'era. Third is bo. Fourth is bishalach. And the fifth is yitro. And last but not least is mishpatim. So take the first letters of each name of the portion of the week. You come to the word shovavim. Now, it's brought down in many, many holy Sfarim. It's originally brought down by the Arizal, the spiritual, the Kabbalistic Arizal, and he brings down that these 6 weeks of time are a special, once in a year possibility for the Jewish people to repent for sinning in any regards to immodest behavior. Once again, this is once a year opportunity, and if any Jew has previously or at present has sinned in the realm of immodest sexual behavior, this is the time to correct and bring upon a tikkun, to fix it. This is a very, very holy time. Now, the minority of people that know what we're talking about here, I never heard of that in my life. Most of us will have immediately connotations of maybe this time is for males and for men. And people might think that if you might think it's for males. I heard yesterday I was learning with a friend of mine. He's an elderly fellow. Originally he was born in Morocco. He told me every single year during these 6 weeks, his grandmother from Morocco fasted on Mondays and Thursdays. His grandmother. So if you thought it's just for males, then you're wrong. It might be mostly for males, but it's not only for males. So what most people understand is that people that have had issues when they were young, now older, whatever it might be, if a person had any kind of issues with sexual offenses in the Torah, or if a person emitted seed, not at the time where he was having relations with his wife. So this is a problematic situation for the Torah. This is problematic. So that's how most people understand it. People, when you're young, before you're married, people have all kinds of issues, as I mentioned, and this is an opportunity to correct. Because understand that this issue of sexual offenses, once again, we're talking about a large scope of sexual offenses. We're not talking about going and, God forbid, raping somebody. Of course, that does come under what we're talking about also. But where that's extremely, that's extreme. We're talking about, as I said, if a person, we know that until a person's married, men and women are not supposed to touch each other. So if a person did touch each other, touch one another, a male to a female, so therefore that's something that we have to correct. And let your imagination run. We're not going to go, there might be kids listening here. So we're just, let your imagination run. And there are thousands of issues here that we could include with transgressions of the Torah modest code. Okay, we will see today, with God's help, or the second class, maybe next week, we will see that a tremendous new outlook to this period of the year. We will see a revision, a totally revision view of these special weeks, these 6 weeks that God has given us every single year. What do people do, you might ask? Some people fast every day, except for, of course, on the Sabbath. Some people fast once a week on Thursdays. Some people fast 2 days a week on Mondays and Thursdays. And some people some people do not talk for a certain amount of hours a day. They keep their mouth shut, unless it's words of Torah. And some people, even words of Torah, they don't talk. There are many, many ways to repent for this, for transgressing immodest behavior, or transgressing modest behavior. Okay. So the first case where we find sexual defilement is always from the beginning, because everything's, take it from the top, we always take it from the top. So let's go back to the top. Top is Adam and Eve. Do we find any problems with this issue of sexual modest behavior? Do we find any issues? And the answer is yes, we do. Unbelievable. Number one, the Talmud in Sanhedrin tells us an amazing piece of knowledge. It says that the snake, once again, for those that remember our class about a month ago on Hanukkah, we're not talking about the snake that you see at the zoo. The one that's running around on the floor. No, we're not talking about that kind of snake. Are we okay? Okay. We're talking about, at this time, the snake was a total, the snake was really Satan. The snake was the evil inclination. We know that this is a certain angel, Satan, the evil inclination, the angel of death, not to be confused with the Los Angeles Angels. But they're all faces of one spiritual being, and the spiritual being is able to transform himself into a human being. For example, I have a very dear uncle, my father's brother. When he was a teenager, my family grew up in Chicago. That's why we're Chicago fans. So my uncle was walking on a frozen lake in the middle of the winter. He was the only person there. He was the only guy there, and he's walking on the lake, frozen lake, and all of a sudden he fell in. Now, who do you call? Who's going to call for help? We're talking about my uncle today. He should be alive till the coming of the Messiah. He's like almost 90 years old. So we're talking about a little more than 70 years ago. No telephones, no underwater telephones. Like, okay, no problem. Well, I got this beat, you know. I just pull out my underwater telephone, and I got my underwater MP3, and I got my underwater camera. I am set. Yeah, no problem. I fell into this pit, you know. It's a problem over here. So he's yelling for help, but there's nobody there. And all of a sudden, he feels that he's being pulled up. He feels that he's being pulled up. And he gets out of the water. He gets out of the hole, you know, saved his life. And he wants to say thank you. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. Okay. So there are angels that God sends. We're not talking about Charlie's angels, but God sends his angels on various missions. You could look up in the Torah, there are many stories where God sends angels that pose as people. So it says in the Talmud that the snake, which is Satan, which is the evil inclination, which is the angel of death, sexually abused Eve. However it's done, I'm not an angel, and I'm not sure exactly how that's possible, but that's what the Talmud tells us. There was something here that happened, a sexual blemish that was placed upon Eve. How about Adam? It says in the Talmud, we're right now on Eruvin, the tractate Eruvin, page 18, side B. Says the following. Rabbi Yirmiyah, the son of Elazar, says the following. That after Adam and Eve sinned, Adam decided that he was going to separate himself from various things. Number one, he was going to fast every day from sunrise to sunset. He was going to fast every day. He also separated himself from his wife. He also would only wear clothing made out of fig leaves. If you remember, it says in the tractate of Shabbat, there are three opinions. What was the tree of knowledge? What kind of fruit was on it? Now, if you grow up in America, they always tell you this jive that it was an apple. You know, I don't know if it's a Macintosh apple or, but here, you know, we are now in the holy apple. So we know that it wasn't an apple that it was on that tree. So there are three opinions. In the Talmud on Shabbat, there are three opinions. Number one, it was grapes. Number two, it was fig growing. Number three, it was wheat. At that time, wheat was very, very tall. Not like in our days. We're also kind of tall, but not like it was then. Then it was like kind of like picking it out of a tree. It was so tall. So those are the three opinions. So Adam takes the fig leaves. Imagine, I don't know if you're familiar, I have a fig tree outside my house. Those leaves are nasty, baby. Those leaves are nasty. Imagine making some kind of like, t-shirt out of those and some kind of shorts, and you're wearing that. It's like eating your skin up alive. So anyways, he was trying to repent for what he did. He did this for 130 years.